Hey everyone, welcome back. This is another one of our shorter special episodes, kind of doing a faction specific showcase. Today we are going to be covering Shadowflame Shard, Chimera. As a lot of people, that's the name of the actual faction. We are joined today by Ryan, also known as Wolf on Discord and pretty much everything else. Say hi, Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
You've been playing this game a little bit, I understand. You started with Legion, if I recall.
Yeah, it's been a minute. So, God, I was looking at this the other day. I think it's over 10 years now, which is a terrifying thing to think about. But I play out of the Buffalo meta. I started back in the day with Legion, uh, and then when Mark IV hit, stayed on Legion for a little bit, was trying to find an army that I liked and could connect with. I tried Dusk for a little bit and just didn't like the playstyle. And then Shadowflame came out and was like, okay, this is very spiritual successor, let's go. So I jumped on and have been on them ever since. It's been a fun ride, let me tell you.
That's good. Why should we care about what you have to say about this faction?
You shouldn't. I'm nobody. Ignore me entirely. No. I mean, I play out of a fairly competitive meta. A bunch of the guys here have gone to WTC, so I feel like I play at a relatively high level basically all the time just by the nature of things. I've been to WTC myself once, and I'm a semi-regular fixture at most conventions in the Northeast. I'm looking to expand that. Um, I've also been, like I kind of said earlier, been playing Shadowflame basically since it came out. So I have as much experience with the army as anybody else, except for maybe some of the playtesters, and have done relatively well with them. I tend to try to play more competitively than narrative stuff and kind of use that to inform my view of the game, and how all the interactions and stuff work. So I feel like I'm at least relatively knowledgeable on most things. I don't know. That's got to be a reason, right?
I mean, you do have a podcast pretty much dedicated to it, don't you?
It used to be dedicated to all Legion, and then it switched to Chimera, and now it's just kind of just a Warmachine podcast. Second longest running one, second long continuously running podcast focusing on Warmachine. We might be number one now. I
I
know we
was
were
saying, what
number
what
two
what
for a
would
while.
number one be?
I don't actually know. I have to go back and look, but I know there was one that was above us, and I don't remember who it was now. But I don't know if they're actually around. It was a couple of years ago when I looked, so I
All
would
right.
have to go back and double check.
So yeah, you do know a little bit, I would say then. You and Nate, I
One or two
do I
things.
do enjoy listening to your cast. So when you guys do that what about once a month typically?
Try to do twice a month, but so my co-host Nate works in politics in some regard. I'm not entirely sure the specifics, but like given the political climate of the US without getting too into it, it's been a little nuts. So he's been super busy. So trying to get times that work with both of us, plus getting around his work schedule, and then both of us trying to travel to conventions and different tournaments and stuff. It's been a little bit of a challenge, but that's what we both get for being, how do I say this, relatively decent and trying to like get out and do things.
Yeah, I mean, I see you and him traveling all the time. I mean, it looked like he just went to Siege Invitational.
Yep, he just went to Siege. I believe he's going someplace else. I don't know what the next thing is. But yeah, I believe he was just there. So he's a very busy little guy.
He's a great guy. I actually met him for the first time at Boker Brawl, and it was really enjoyable.
Oh yeah, I love Nate.
So I guess let's get into the meat and potatoes of this. This is for new and current and returning players. So we are focusing today on Shadowflame Shard. Where do people start? Like, why don't you take that away?
So I guess to start buying, um, so this is the hard part, right? Because the boxes are set up in such a way that I don't super like them, because of like the caster combination with what's actually in the box. Uh, so I guess my first thought would be, you want to get a core box first. Skilla, who is the character beast in there, is going to be a great add. She's a very solid character. The Scion is you will take it sometimes. The Shadowmancer unit is basically a given in almost any list. And then you get the two Stalker units in the UA, which one of them is, I don't want to say useless because I don't actually think that's true. It is very much a unit that does not exist in the moment because of the meta.
Okay.
They have a ranged attack that can only ever do 1 point of damage to something, which is really good in a meta with a lot of single wound infantry, and really bad into anything that has more than one box or trying to go after like any beast or any jack. Like, it doesn't matter its armor, you will always do a point, but you will only ever do a point, and you cannot do more than that. So, if the meta shifts, they will become useful. As it stands, they are very much you kind of have to know what you're looking at to even be bothered trying. Uh, After that, I think you would probably go with double of, and the order here can shift a little bit depending on what you like, but I would go with double of the auxiliary boxes. The range unit in there can be usable. The Paragons are our only range defense, and they're great. Um, and then the Lashers and Death Dealers are both super solid units. You will end up taking probably double Lashers in almost every list and have a very good argument to take at least one unit of Death Dealers, if not two, depending on the caster. Nixian is a super techy, solid choice. And then the Spinner is also it's a 2 point filler, but it can do some cool stuff. You don't see them super often, but like that's just because 2 points will get you a bunch of upgrades and things, and they have the problem of having recursion but not really doing anything else. So if they had a little more input with the rest of the army, I think you'd see them more. But that's not super important at the moment. After that, the Shard Incarnates box, I would probably double up on them. The Knights in there are fantastic. The Conjurers are pretty DOA at the moment, but the Drakion, which is the heavy beast, is also fantastic, and Kyrax is one of our best warlocks. Uh, so, like, you're not going to go wrong there. And then I would follow that up with the new Nocturnes box. Nothing in there, aside from the one solo, I think is very auto-include. Everything is very techy. It's very, what are you trying to make your list do? And will work best with certain casters over others. But it's not like you're going to feel left out if you don't have it. And then, obviously, we have the Wyvern. I would probably stick with one of them. I don't feel like two right now is needed. They're a very good piece. They're just an expensive piece at 19 points. They will do a bunch of work, but there's a decent amount of things right now that can kill them, so knowing how to position them is kind of important to keeping them alive. And finally, the Trichimerics, as a single $150 buy, I would only grab one of them. Super great Colossal, but needing more than one is probably pushing it.
All right, how many battle group boxes do you recommend people pick up? Because typically, all of these are better to just pick up the battle group box compared to singles.
Yeah, I would say if you need the beast, two is probably going to be your best bet. There are some meme lists where you can go, 3 or 4 Hydrix or 3 or 4 Vipix. You will most often not do that. Typically, it's going to be like one Hydrix, maybe two, and then 1 to 2 Vipix. They don't see a ton of play at the moment, but like they are both solid for what they do. Again, it's very much what tech do they have and what rules do they have and that they're bringing that you need. So like if you're planning on playing a very reactive army, then you probably would take the Hydrixes. If you're trying to like go out and touch things and play more aggressively, the Vipix is probably going to be more your speed.
All right. Is there a particular reason why you think that for each of them, just so people have an idea of why?
Yeah. So the Hydrix in general, its animi are more self-focused. Future Sight, which is on one of them, lets a thing boost after rolling, so it's only ever going to affect itself, the caster, or another beast. It's got snacking, which will only ever affect itself or a caster that actually has a melee attack, which is only 3 of them. Um, and then Counterblast is itself or the caster. All of its heads are. It has a couple of ranged options. They're POW like 13, and they don't reach out very far. It is more of a. It has Swift Hunter and Overtake. It wants to be a gun platform, but it's not one that threats super far. If you go all guns with it, you lose out on melee, and late game that ends up being a problem. But it is a piece that is really good at picking up infantry or some lighter armored things and then moving around a lot more than you think it should, whereas the Vipix actually hits much harder in melee. It has more rules that once it gets there, it gets to move around. The one head offers it sidestep, one offers it repo and makes its magic attack a little better, and one makes it into an arc node. And then its animi are either Jason, which is upkeep removal, Bladed Gale, which is just a spray. It also removes flight, although I have never seen that actually come up, and it is the only threat extension outside of the caster for most games that you'll see in Hunter's Mark. So more often than not, if you're trying to play aggressively, you're going to end up taking at least one Hunter's Mark Vipex to try and really push your threat ranges, and then a sidestepping Murder Vipex is usually a decent grab there as well.
All right. Yeah, that's good to know. I've looked at Chimera a couple times and I've been like, I don't even know where to start. So that's good to know. Um,
Mhm.
Kind of with that, what would you say Shadowflame's like biggest strength is currently in this in 2025?
So I think the single biggest strength in the faction is the variability you have and the amount of tools you can bring. What I mean by that is you can build the same caster several different ways, and they will all work and be good. There isn't like a dedicated, oh, if you're playing, say, Rassic, there's some things you're going to want to do to like fit the play style, but you're not necessarily going to be wrong for doing like, one kind of option over another. Um, and because every caster can be built a couple different ways, it lends a high amount of variance. So, like, you will often catch people off guard just by the nature of, like, my local always plays Rassic in this fashion, and you're changed out 20 or 25 points, and now the list plays very differently than what I am expecting. Um, and to that end, the amount of tools that everything seems to have in this army is kind of absurd. Everything has, something like chain weapon or crit knockdown or drags or grievous wounds, or anatomical. It has shadowbind. It has blind. It has a bunch of different rules on various models that are very, not necessarily always, but can be very hard to keep track of both for you and for your opponent. Whereas, the longer you play them, you're going to get used to kind of seeing all the angles. It's going to be very easy for somebody else to miss something, and kind of, oh, I think I'm safe here because I did all these things, and it's like, actually, you're an inch too far forward, and therefore I get to do X, Y, and Z now. So there's a lot of different little lines that once you can start picking up on them, you are able to just like really kind of choose the things you want to happen and make them happen. You can kind of get the precision and leverage both, the speed and the amount of different things you can do to overwhelm somebody else. Uh, the downside to all of that, which is worth noting, is that because of all of these different tools and how everything kind of just works naturally, almost nothing in the army is just like a straight up beat stick or just like a straight up here's a thing that just has good guns and that's what it does. It very much is like things need to be working in concert basically all the time to get the most out of them, and that can be hard to pick up on. It can be really hard to like build a list to keep track of all of these things that you're trying to push. And the mental load, if you're not used to it, can be exhausting, especially if you end up playing a bunch of games that get really grindy and go to like turn 6 or 7 consistently. It gets to be a little bit much.
Okay, so I mean, it sounds like Chimera doesn't have a lot of like throwaway units. It's a lot of you need these things to do work every turn type.
Kind of. So I guess the easy one to look at here would be like the Talon Lashers, because they're a very ubiquitous unit. I mean, when we played our game, you saw them, and I think anytime you see Chimera, you'll see them. They are a unit that base threat's 12, has chain weapons, has gang, and because of that, has a good threat range, gets up to Mat 8, POW 12, ignores shields. You can, silence a death to get them to 14. So, like, as a unit that's just, hey, I want them to go in and take out another unit, they're good at that. But they also have crit knockdown, and they also have drags, and they also have repo too. So you get into situations where you can just have them go up and take out another unit, and they're perfectly happy to do that. But if you can keep them alive longer, if you can find another way to take out that unit, as more things kind of get off the board, they become a bigger problem because if they can get to a caster, suddenly there's a chance they knock them down or they drag them out from behind a wall. Because each one has 2 attacks, you can set up these weird like triangles where you want to pull a solo or a light or a caster, 3 inches out from behind a wall, then a second one hits them and drags them forward, and then the third one hits them and drags them a different direction. So you go from, oh, this light is safe, or this solo is safe, or my caster is safe, to, oh, they just got moved, 6 to 8 inches in a weird Z pattern, and now a heavy gets to get to them, or now they're way out of position for what I need. And a lot of different things in the army can do things similar to that. They can be thrown away to just go do damage, but they also just get to be these ridiculous disruption pieces that, if they're still around, they can just be a nightmare to remember all of their different rules and all of the different angles that will open up as things start to get off the board.
All right, yeah, it's playing against them, I was just like, oh man, they can do a lot. So that was definitely eye opening.
And you saw the version where they literally just went up and said, I'm going to make, 9 attacks and just pick up a bunch of stuff? Like, they didn't even get to do any of the fun stuff there. They just made attacks and picked up units.
Yep. That was fun for you.
I enjoyed it an awful lot.
That's good. What would you say is one of the biggest weaknesses of the faction currently?
I think there are 2, and it's the entire army outside of maybe the Incarnate Knights, and if you like specifically build a Hydrix to take a hit, cannot take a hit. It is very much glass cannon. Most of the units are like ARM 12 to 14, maybe 15. Relatively high defense, but if you can get around that, then if you hit the stuff, it just dies. So you can't really afford to misposition things. You can't really afford to like take some riskier plays on the off chance that somebody else's dice spike or they have an angle that you didn't see. The other one is there's a distinct lack of ranged presence in the army as a whole. There's a couple really good ranged pieces, like the Trichimerics has a bunch of very good guns. The Hydrix can have some decent guns, but most of the stuff outside of the Colossal maxes out at like POW 13, and there isn't a lot of good ways to increase that damage. So you end up in situations where you need to get to melee or you need to get to these relatively short ranges, like make your army function. And if somebody can sit back long enough and just fire down range, you're not going to win that. Thankfully, there are some tools to deal with it, but it can get hard to force engagements. It can get hard to like go after certain things if somebody is protecting them well, whether that be solos or units. And if it becomes a situation of, you committed into melee and you picked up everything, suddenly your units are standing out in the middle of the table, and yeah, they're 13 or 14, but they're probably in range of an AoE that can aim, or they're in range of an entire unit with CRA, and they just get picked up because of it. So I would say those are kind of the big two weaknesses of the army.
All right. Actually, before we go on, I just was thinking, do you think it's worth picking up Lilith? Because you didn't mention her.
So, rule of cool, yes, she's a dope model. I'm still working on painting her myself, and I should probably finish that at some point. But like, I think it is worth picking her up. I think when you're looking at what you're going to buy, though, look at what you're trying to get out of the game. So if you're just going, hey, I'm going to go to the store, my local store, or have friends over, and we're going to sit in my basement and play, don't listen to anything I'm saying. Don't listen to anybody else. Play whatever you want. Because when I talk about this, I'm talking about it from the context of like, hey, if you're going to start traveling to conventions, if you want to be super crunchy and competitive right away, like not everybody finds enjoyment there. So if you're just saying, hey, I just want to win some games against my buddies, then like kind of figure out what they're doing and then match from there. If you're looking at like, hey, I want to be on the road to like making a WTC team, or I want to be like a convention staple, or I want to do really well at bigger events, I would say she's probably not high up on your priority list.
Okay. And what about any mercs? Are any mercs you feel like are needed?
The one you will use the most is probably Belagul. He's a merc solo that gives enrage. All of the rest of them, for context, I haven't tried the ones that just came out, Nastilla and Aberration, so there might be something there. I haven't had testing time to know for sure, so yeah, try it and let me know, I guess. But Magnus and Invictus and Carver and Warbore are both solid. They work best with Shirus, but like if you need something that can kind of take a flank and go, either one of them will work. It's very much just if you want them to. I don't think either one is a requirement at this point, but they will both do decent work. Same thing with like Nisak. She's a great little solo. You don't see her a ton because points are usually tight, and you need to like really have a plan for what you're doing with her. Similar to Zacharias, 6-point cab solo. He's decent, but like you really need to have a plan going in and with what you want to do with him. I don't think he's a requirement for like again if you're trying to be the super competitive person.
All right, so it seems like Belagul is like a definite pickup because Enrage is really good.
Enrage is super good. He's also weirdly like he just has the weirdest stat line of like he's a weapon master and also has Pathfinder and also has stealth and also has condition. So like if he's not enraging something, he can help with fury management, and then late game he just charges in with like a POW 8 weapon master attack into things, which will sometimes just kill them for you. Like he's a weird little idiot, but like if you're gonna take any of the marks, he's probably the one you're gonna see.
So, kind of going into that competitive aspect of it, what do you think the optimum pairing is for Chimera right now with the current state of the meta?
With where things are right now, um, I would say some combination of Shirus, Kyrax, and Nixian is probably going to be your competitive pair. One of those, like some two out of those three. Um, I think there's a world in which you will see Rasik. I think he's perfectly fine. I think it very much kind of depends on how you want to build that. And then Lilith and Valix are probably towards the bottom of the list there of things you are likely to see. I don't think either one of is bad, but they're very much both in the realm of like you need to understand the meta you're going into, and you need to understand what you're trying to play into and what you have at your disposal, because they're going to be very targeted answers to very specific things if you're taking them. I don't think you run either one as like a, kind of catch-all, this is going to be my main list. They're very much like tech choice off lists. But I think Pyrax, Nixian, and Shirus, if built correctly, can probably take about 80% of the field each in like a competitive setting and be in a very good spot with it.
All right. Well, let's take one of them. And which one do you want to talk about? We just want to talk about how you would build a list for them.
Sure. So, what's going to be the easiest one? Let's say Shirus, because I think she's the most ubiquitous right now. So, when you're making a list for a caster like this, she has, I think, the best of both worlds in that she has an offensive kit, but a defensive feat. So, she is a fast caster who wants to be putting out debuffs and kind of running up and down the table while threatening to solo assassinate some casters because she damn well gets close doing it. But also has a feat that just says, hey, in my control range, you don't get to charge my stuff. You can't slam it. And then it gets concealment and dodge. So if you can get there, there's a chance my stuff just walks away. And if you're going to try and pick stuff up at range, it gets even harder. So when you're looking at a caster like her, what I would say is taking into account how she kind of plays, because she doesn't have a melee attack. She's never going to like really get up there and be able to like hold a late game herself. But because all of her abilities come with her ranged attacks, she's very much going to be playing a hit and run. Like I go up, I witch mark a thing to get a spell on it, I shadow bind a thing, I throw a poison shot to get this one particular solo or one particular unit guy out of the way, and then I back up to safety. In general, she kind of wants to be taking some very solid guns in the form of either like Carver and Warbore, or a Hydrix, or a Skilla, or a Wyvern. One or two guns that she can really rely on with her spell list to put some damage in and force people to come in. And then using her feat to take up table space and go, okay, for one turn, you either have to make a commitment that is going to be suboptimal because you don't get to charge. So you're walking and placing guys in, which means you're probably not getting all of your attacks. You're not getting the free boosts from charging. Or you're going to back off and cede a lot of scenario to me. I think
Okay. She She does have gunfighter and pistol though.
She
But
does.
I know she can't charge because she doesn't have a melee weapon. So
She
even if she is engaged, she still can shoot.
she can shoot. The thing is, she's a 16-14, so if she's engaged by something and it got to make an attack on her, she's probably not super happy about it, especially if it did hit. And her base POW on her attacks is like 10. So she walks 7, jumps 5, can shoot 8, I guess, up to 11 if you snipe it. But she's only shooting POW 10s. And unless you're putting, poison out, or you really need to get like Curse of Shadows, which is a rack spell, or Hand of Destruction, or Basin or something like that out, most of the time she wants to go up, Shadowbind some things to keep herself safe, maybe, throw a long Witchmark shot if somebody kept a heavy or an 80 mil or something important back to be able to get a spell on it, and then she wants to just kind of slink back as far as she can to stay safe. There's definitely times where like she will 100% just be like, oh, you left your caster on one focus, and I can have, a wyvern take a spray and then walk, jump, and get 3 poison shots at you. Yeah, I'm going to do that because that's probably like a 60+% chance to just kill you and end the game right here. Like, if she decides to full send and go for it, you can't stop her. Because of gunfighter, because of pistol, because of everything else. Like, she's just going to walk, place, and be in range wherever she wants to be. But outside of like that threat, she herself isn't doing a ton of damage.
Right. And something I'm noticing with almost all of the warlocks except for Lilith is they're all control 12.
They sure are, which is so fun. It's such a great thing to have every single caster be control 12. Definitely doesn't cause any issues at all, ever. I'm not upset about this. I don't know what you're talking about.
Would you put that in one of the weakness columns?
It is certainly an annoyance, especially when like Kyrax's feat and Rasik's feat and Shiris's feat all require your stuff to be in your own control range. And then you look at like Valix's feat, where enemy models have to be in your control range. And it just gets not upsetting, but mildly annoying. At least it's one less stat to remember, because they're basically all the same. But I wish they weren't.
Like even your spell like your caster one with the 8 arc is still only a 12.
Uh-huh. Still control 12. Arc 8, Arcane Attack 7, control
I mean,
12.
they have to balance it somehow. You can't have everything, right?
Yep.
And that's something they might adjust here and there because
It's
there
true.
are casters you're not seeing, and they don't usually they like to kind of bring some of the stuff up compared to bring a bunch of stuff down. So, it's something might change in the January update. Because there for a while, you were seeing Wyvern in every list because it had Warping Winds, and then it changed to be on the Paragon, and you started seeing less of them.
Yep. Well, I mean, you saw less of them because it went from being 1 or 2 as a requirement to not get shot to death to now it's just a very good work piece,
Yeah.
but you're not required to have them in every list. Well, doesn't feel like you are.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I still think it's a very good War Beast.
Oh, it's fantastic. It is still the single highest damage output in faction, possibly in the game. I would have to look at that, but like it's probably up there for the new armies.
I mean, it's got 4 initial melees and a spray for 19 points.
Mm-hmm. It also is speed 7, with repo 3, so like there's a world in which it just goes up and fires its spray and then gets to be relatively safe. It, Hunter's Mark obviously affects it, Warpath off Rassic affects it, Alpha Hunter off Kyrax affects it. There's a couple different ways to like make it even faster and really push those threat ranges. and then its melee attacks are like base POW 18 on the claws, I believe 16. No, they changed it. It's 18 on the claws, 15 on the bite, 14 on the tail. So like it has relatively high POW. Base mat 7 is great. And one of the things Shadowflame is really good at is kind of stacking damage where you need it. So it's not unreasonable to be like, I can give a +4 pretty reliably to this wyvern and make it hit at POW. Its weakest attack is going to be POW 18, and its strongest is going to be POW 22. Like, it gets into the territory of just one rounding a colossal with the numbers it can get to.
I think it's solid. It's a gorgeous model too when you see it across the table, especially when it's all painted up.
Yeah, yes, it is. I 100% agree with that. It was. I have 2 painted, and both of them were super enjoyable to sit down and paint. If you're from a painting perspective, one thing to know if you're thinking about getting into this, into Shadowflame specifically, there sometimes isn't a really great delineation between what you're looking at. So like, because fluff-wise it's a metal mix of metal and flesh and everything else, like, you look at like the wyvern and can be like, oh, I don't actually know what's supposed to be what here. So little advice that I figured out is just kind of pick what you want it to be and stay consistent. And if you do that across the army, it will look good together. But just try to like figure out what you think a thing is and then stick with that as much as you can.
Yeah, I was running into that when I was working on one of my Hydrix, where it turns in the tail and it kind of folds in on it. And I'm like, okay, am I actually painting the plates or am I painting skin right now?
Yep. Is this the chitin? Is this the armor? Is this the underside that wrapped around? Like, what am I looking at? I haven't started painting the Trichimerics yet, but I imagine I'm going to have a very similar issue with that of just like, this is 3 snakes in a trench coat. Which snake am I looking at? Hold on, let me backtrace this all the way up. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to like put a line down each one and be like, okay, this is gonna be the red one, and this is gonna be the blue one, and this is gonna be the green one, and this way I know what's what at a glance.
All right. You got any like tips and tricks people getting into it, like things they need to kind of look for, kind of avoid, anything like that?
Um, in general, what I would say is if you're just starting the army and you haven't played Warmachine at all before, like you're just getting into it and you're starting here, number one, grain of salt everything you hear or read from anywhere, even me, because a lot is going to depend on what your local meta and what your local opponents look like. I can sit here all day and say, hey, I think this unit is good and this unit is garbage, but like if you're constantly playing into, uh, you know, let's say one of your locals is playing Kador and they're just running 40 Winter Guard infantry, Winter Corps infantry all the time. Like, I can sit here and be like, yeah, but the quick fangs with the guns are kind of bad. But if that's what you're always seeing, they could be the answer to that. So, just as a general rule, uh, getting advice from people is great, but like, understand that their advice is not necessarily going to be the best advice because they don't play where you do. Uh, Beyond that, the thing to remember with the army is that as much as it looks like the lines of play are always going to be very simple, they're not. And as much as it looks like you need to get an alpha strike and that's how you win, you don't. The army actually attritions very well and can get into the late game and be in a very good position, despite it having basically no armor to get there. It relies a lot more on positioning and making sure certain things get traded at the right time, which is going to depend very much on the board state and what the scenario is and what everything looks like. Um, So the number one kind of tip I would say there is just try and learn your own rules first, because there are so many different ones on so many different things, and then try and figure out where they will come into play when you're on the table. It takes a little bit of brain work to not just run out your clock on your turn figuring out all the different permutations you can run through, but take some time when you're learning to try and get through them, and practice a couple games off clock, practice with friends, and try and figure out when these things come in handy. There are rules and there are things that you will look at 99 games out of 100 and say, I never use this, it's pointless, and then one game it will come up and you'll go, oh, actually that would have saved me here, or, oh, that would have won me the game here because I could have done X, Y, and Z. So just knowing the contents of your bag of tricks is going to be the thing that will win you games kind of accidentally and will save you when bad things start to happen.
Kind of close it off. Let's what don't you want to see across the table?
Um, right now, genuinely, I don't really think there's anything. For me playing it, I don't look and be like, oh, I have to play into X. This is going to be terrible. I think at worst, it's like slightly disadvantaged, but like a lot of it comes down to like I don't want to see X caster on X scenario rather than I don't want to see them at all. So like a good example would be Zadaroth, who's an Infernals caster. I don't particularly want to see her on a very live scenario like Two Fronts. But if you say, hey, you're playing her round 2 and it's like best laid plans, I'm probably all right with that. As far as like strategies people can use against Shadowflame and like ways, if you're listening to this going, hey, I have a local Shadowflame player, like how do I beat them? Try and get an attrition lead and cheat trades wherever you can. If you can pick up, one or two guys at range and keep your stuff completely safe, almost always worth it to do it. And really try and push for a longer game as much as you can. Shadowflame can attrition very well, but if there's like a single turn of, your dice get hot or your opponents get very not hot, it can go real south for them real quick. Other than that, remember to keep your caster safe. It is almost always a way out for Shadowflame lists to just say, oh, I'm down, but you had to like put your caster in a somewhat risky spot to do it. I have the tools to just kill them. So keep your caster and your like very important pieces safe rather than trying to risk them. And more often than not, if you can get that game to like turn 4 or 5, you'll be in a better position because so many of the tools will be off the table at that point, and it just every turn that goes on, your caster gets safer.
All right, yeah, no, that's good advice. I mean, hearing you talk about it, you almost always will take the assassination, but I think that's just your play style.
Yeah, I like to assassinate. Why play a 2-hour game of Warmachine when I could play, 4 half-an-hour games of Warmachine? I get more Warmachine for my Warmachine that way. It's certainly, I think, in Mark IV in general, always a thing that's on the table. Like a lot of different armies can just kind of go, screw it, I'm going all in and have tools. Shadowflame specifically has a lot of things that can just enable weird angles and weird assassination runs that like you think you're perfectly safe from, but suddenly, you got a heavy slammed over the top of you and you're knocked down, and because of rule least disturbance, you're pushed 3 inches forward, and now you're in range of this entire unit, which just gets to charge and drag you even further away. Like, you end up in these weird situations of just, oh, I didn't even know that was possible because most of the time, all of those things won't come up. But like, if you give the opening and I feel down, there's no reason for me not to do it.
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, I've coming from what I've played, it's just I don't usually get those options all that much. I from Mark II, I basically always play a 2-hour game of Warmachine if I can.
Yeah, see, that's
So I don't usually take those.
actual hell for me. No, thank you.
I played Trolls in Mark II.
Yeah, I know. I remember. No, no, thank you. I had
It
to
was always 2-hour games.
at Adepticon. I had to play my first round of not my first. I think it was my second round of the Iron Gauntlet. Uh, I ended up having to play into Kane and went to turn 7 with both me and my opponent having 4 seconds left on our clock. It was the worst day of my life. Hated every second of it.
It was always 2-hour games.
It was against Eric Ryerson, who is a very nice guy. Shout out Eric if this doesn't get edited out. But he decided to not move Kane up and leave him in a bunker all game, and I had to not move Nixian up and left her in a bunker all game, and it went to 7 turns and just like it was on payload. I scored the payload bottom of 7. I don't think like it was terrible. I would much rather have ended that game like an hour sooner and went and got lunch or like a snack, and no, I couldn't do that. It's awful.
That's why at conventions it's important to have water and a snack with you.
It's true, it is. Granola. Granola is your best friend.
Yep, protein bars, all that. But that's another cast that we've actually done.
See, there you go. That's
Yeah, we did
that's
it for
called that's
Evoker
called
Brawl.
a throwback.
Yeah, well, man. Now we have a backlog of stuff, so but again, thank you for coming on. It was great talking about Shadowflame. Just real quick, top of your head, real favorite model, go.
Favorite model in Shadowflame? Probably the Paragon. The Wraithwing Paragon is it's dope as hell. I love that model. It's so cool. I think the Wyvern is probably a close second, but like I love the look of the Paragon. That thing's dope.
Nice. As soon as I saw the Shard Nocturnes, I was like, I want those.
They're super cool.
Just the wings on it, they just look incredible.
They are amazing. It's a super fun box to paint. My only complaint with it is that trying to get them to fit in like your standard movable foam is a nightmare because they're hips plastic and they don't like have any good way to like break the wings off and magnetize them or anything. So it's just like these are so cool, but they take up so much room.
Yeah, how tall is the character beast? What's its name? Aklis?
Skilla?
No,
Oh,
Aklis.
Aklis?
Because he's on a tactical rock too, or they are on a tactical rock.
Yeah, they is wrapped around a tactical rock. I haven't actually measured, but like she's another one that because there isn't like a good way to break off the wings, like she just takes up a lot of space both vertically and horizontally in my bag. So she's another one where I love her. Very rough to transport though.
Well, maybe. I mean, SFG announced that they were partnering with what is that, Warmag or something like those containers or at least
magnet
the
trays?
magnetic sheets. Yeah,
Yeah, might be
maybe
worth
that's
looking
something
at.
they'll have to do.
I hope not. I already spend enough on this hobby. We don't need to add more.
Well, I mean, Lilith is probably just as tall.
Lilith is just as tall. Lilith, at least, has like the wings slot in, so I cut them off or cut the little tabs off and magnetized them. So like I can at least take like a good 2.5 inches off of her height, to get her transport easier. But yeah, she's another one that's just very big.
And the Wyvern wings, those are magnetized already.
The Wyvern wings are magnetizable, and that's the only reason that thing gets transported. The Trichimerics comes in 2 pieces in the middle. I already had to drill that out to magnetize it so that it would be a little bit easier to transport. Yeah,
That one didn't come with the magnet slots because I like at least with the Maelstrom, the middle did, but I just ended up gluing it together.
Nope. It's glued together. I might end up gluing it. Just I put 3 of the bigger magnets in it, and it still wobbles a bit more than I would like. But for painting and practice purposes, I'm happy to have it magnetized. At some point, I might glue it together, but it's it's another one where it's big and takes up a lot of space. So if you're getting into Shadowflame, get real good with magnets. You're gonna need them.
We all kind of already have practice with it with all of the heavy and light kits being magnetized, but I can see why.
To a point,
wings are a thing.
I mean, so like wings are a thing. The Hydrix magnetization is 3 heads and a back piece. So like it's super easy because it doesn't like take up any more room. And the Vipix is actually fits over its base super well. So like that's another one where it's like, yeah, the 2 arms, a head, and like the little end bit of the tail. It's so much nicer than the Jax where it's like, here's an entire arm and also the tiny head. Like all of the pieces for the heavies are relatively small comparatively speaking. It makes that easier.
Yeah, I mean, when I magnetized my Hydrix and Vipix, it was so easy compared to, say, my Gravedigger's Valiants.
Yep.
Because the Valiant has the head, the 2 arms, and the heavy weapon on top.
Yep. Well, I mean, it's easier to paint too, right? Because like you look at a standard Jack where it's like, okay, it has 4 arms on each side and then 3 or 4 heads. Like the Hydrix has no arms. Yeah, it has, 4, 8, 11 head options, but like it's 11 heads and then 3 back pieces versus 4 heads and 8 arms, which like it just takes forever to get them all done.
I can see what you're saying with that, definitely. But where can people find you? Just if someone's wanting to get into the game, they want to do Shadowflame, where can they go? And because I know you're on all the Discords and everything.
True. So if you ever want to chat Shadowflame stuff, you can find me on the Discord. I'm at Wolf the Cat. I'm also on Longshanks under the same name. You can also find me on Facebook. I am the only one out of me and Nate on there. So search up the Bright Blingers podcast on there and shoot me a message. I'm also as one of the hosts of Bright Blingers, so feel free to listen to that. We're on the More Than Dice Network. As far as physical places you can find me, I play out of the Buffalo area, so if you're ever in the area, shoot me a message. I'm happy to meet people for a game, basically whenever. And I'm a semi-regular haunt for conventions in the Northeast. So if you're ever at, Captain Con, Beaucur, Michigan GT, things like that, like there's a very solid chance you'll find me there.
Well, thank you, Ryan, for coming on. It was great chatting with you about this. I'm sure we'll have you on again to talk conventions or something at some point.
Right on. Thank you very much for inviting me. I appreciate the chance.
Thank you, and hopefully we get a game in again, and I give you a little bit more of a game next time.
Hey, we gotta have a kaiju fight. That counts. It was awesome.
All right. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.